Because sometimes your man gonna love you as long as you don't know your potential.
Ooh. Wow. If the shoe fits, put it on.
So I'm definitely not going to be sugarcoating on this one. So if that's what you were expecting, wrong one. Y'all see the title, you know what it is. And we're gonna have a greater conversation about friendship dynamics and things that go wrong, and things that could have been prevented, because some of us are losing friends, or having to not trying to salvage a friendship over silly things. Now, y'all know I don't typically, sometimes talking and doing my makeup, I trip up, I mess up. But I'm going in with some aloe vera gel, and don't hold me to mentioning every product, so definitely check the description box. My setup is so low budget right now because I've never done my makeup in my room. But have you ever had a friend who really was honestly low-key, high-key, very much on-key, a pick-me? Okay, and so what happened? What do you do in those instances? And this is not a situation where I'm trying to bash pick-me's, but you know what? You could pick your own struggle.
That's just not something I want to be a part of.
And I'm not going to sit here and try to be demeaning or try to come at your character. But what I will do is be honest about how that can impact the dynamic of a friendship, of a relationship on a greater scale. Because sometimes as a pick-me, you don't see outside of your partner. You don't see too much outside of yourself and the person that you're dating. And so in any instance, when you have that sort of that very narrowed focus, what does that mean for the relationships around you? How do you nurture? How do you pour into the relationships with people who you say you value? So boom. Let's bring it all back. Okay, so this young lady, she is of a completely different cultural, racial, ethnic background. And so I'm not going to put it out there, but we just going to keep that in mind, because sometimes these women really be loving who they with more than anything else, and that matters to them. They put it as high as their goals, as far as, success, whatever. And when we met, so me having a boyfriend, her having a boyfriend, she was privy to what was going on. We would frequent her place of work, because the establishment, it wasn't a corporate setting. This was more low-key vibes. But every time I came in there, even with Bae, I'm yo, she has really great energy. I like her energy. I'm an empath. So when you have good energy, when my aura, when my vibe is able to just chill around you, that's a big deal. Because some of y'all energy be, I be getting ready to run away from you. I just need to run and at the highest speed and don't look back. So I'm her energy, did you catch her energy, babe? This is good. I appreciate everything that she's offering at this point in time. So boom. So because of where she worked, we would frequent that joint a lot. It was in the food and beverage situation. So let me just tell you something. One thing about me, when I like something, I'm gonna be up in your establishment. That's, you know what I'm saying? So we just saw each other so much, and we started talking, and it was a connection. And I'm she has such a sweet vibe. And you know what I'm saying? When you tap into that, and once she told me her zodiac sign, I'm should I drop her zodiac sign? It might put things into perspective for you guys, but you know what I'm saying? What do you think? So anyway, she's a Cancer. I think one thing about, when you're a Cancer, you're all in. That's something that I've noticed. It seems like y'all are all in, very, very high on the emotions, very in touch with the emotions, very much able to communicate strongly, some of your emotions. At least that's what I got in my experience with her. I'm not going to, take away from anybody else's experience with the Cancer, but with the Cancer energy, it's emotions, it's love, it's passion. When they like you, you will know it. When they love you, it's all about you, basically. That's just what I peeped. We started breaking down sort of like the walls or like boundaries that you may have, like when you're meeting a stranger, and it goes beyond that high and by kind of vibe. So I'm like, you know, girl, he getting on my nerves. I'm just about, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, girl, he getting on my nerves. Like some days it'll be like that, like, Band's getting on my nerves. He need to leave me alone. Right? And so she would start to share. Now, I was never overwhelming. One of the things that I tell people, when you're meeting a partner, when you're meeting someone for the first time, it is not at all a positive thing to just like unload your emotional baggage or where you are mentally and emotionally onto the next person. That's very dismissive of their ability to like process in that moment. You don't know where they are and whether they have the mental capacity. So I'm always like, I have to read you. I have to like be really big on like discernment, and like if I'm reading you wrong, like you can't handle it, you will never get that side of me. So homegirl, she had it going on. She got that side of me, you know what I'm saying? So I'm in a situation, and you know, we start just sharing about like home life. Like one of the things, there was something really big going on in my life, and like I was about to close that chapter. It wasn't with like relationships or anything. It was like, I don't even want to say what it was, but I like confided in her. I'm like, girl, this shit has been weighing on me for like so long, and I am finally like breaking through, and I don't have to deal in that world anymore. Like I can be free. And so she finally, you know, she got into a certain part of my life, and then like she, I believe, felt a little bit more comfortable. I think she started like sharing a little bit more. And so, you know how you learn about someone's partner before you even meet them? What's the tea on that? What are your thoughts about that? Because do we believe that that's a positive thing? Like, please let me know in the comment section, because more often than not, people need to understand that you're walking into a situation where somebody has already talked about you, whether you know it or not. So let me know the tea and whether you think that's even appropriate. She starts like, you know, sharing. She's like, she loves that man. And I'm like, boom, heard you. Boom, heard you. And I'm like, you know, don't gloss me. You know what I'm saying? Don't over embellish. You know what I'm saying? Don't make it more than what it is. Don't exaggerate, because, you know, with the level that we were becoming close, I'm like, okay, there's going to become a time where she's going to let me know, like, you know, what it really is. She was working so much to the point like where we were able to like foster a connection. She was always there when I was at that particular establishment. So I'm like, I see you're working, sis. She had, you know, desires to become a nurse. So I'm like, she got hustle. She had an incredible amount of focus, but she would also disclose like, you know, I want to become a nurse. You know, I'm picking up extra hours. You know, the owner here, she respects me. She likes the way that I work, and she trusts me. So she will, you know, schedule me for X amount of hours, X amount of times a week. So if you're working 5 to 6 days a week, maybe 1 to 2 days off per week, and you're doing maybe over 40 hours, and then you have to come home. And according to her, she would come home. Sometimes her, you know, place would not be clean. I'm not sure that he cooked often. And to put it to you like this, and this is things that I learned over time. I'm not going to make it seem like Shorty just, you know, threw it all on me. Like it was a very gradual type of thing. And so she would share, you know, I had to pay rent this particular month. Like not him. It was, she had to pay the rent. So I'm like, that's all, you know what? You don't have no ring on your finger. And I'm like, I'm not understanding it. I don't understand how all of this energy is going on and you don't have a ring on your finger. Like that's a strong commitment, especially if you want that for yourself. But at the same time, she was also concerned about the fact that like this was his first major relationship, and she almost thought that, you know, she felt bad because she feels like this person should be able to maybe try love with someone else. And she wasn't selfish, like selfless. She embodied that entirely. So she was very much of the mind frame. She's like, you know, I kind of feel like I want him to possibly date around because like he doesn't know, he's never been with anybody else. So like, how does he know that it's me? And my mind wasn't registering, because when somebody, you know, believes that, when any person believes that you are the one, like don't try to second guess it. However, I do understand that from an emotional, mental, you know, maybe even financial aspect, he can be underdeveloped, and he believes that he has the capacity, the means to nurture a relationship, but you don't really know until you have more experience with people, which is why I tell you guys, please date around. Yes, you can date for marriage, but you can, when you do that, you narrow your focus, and sometimes you limit your engagement with people and learning how to interact with other people without having anything of that like magnitude between the two of you. Conversation can allow you to see so much, especially, and it can magnify people's actions so that you better understand why they operate the way that they operate. I hope I'm not like going too crazy. I finally met him, having learned all of this stuff, us confiding in one another and being more comfortable. She starts to share. Heard you. Finally meet him. We go out to dinner, right? Now, it was very much a situation where I went out to dinner with him. It wasn't me and my partner at the time. It was myself and her, along with her boyfriend. My energy, who I am, it doesn't change. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially in person. Like, I'm a very warm person. Like, you're gonna get that energy, you're gonna get the vibes, but because her and I had become cool, it's like now he's being privy to she's introducing me. She's like, oh my gosh, I really enjoy her, like, we just started talking, she's so cool. And like, she was like gassing me up, like, she has her own place, this is where she lives, this is what she wants. And let me just back that up. Like, women, please make sure you know your man before you bring a woman around, especially one that he may feel threatened by. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that he possibly felt threatened. She said after, because we went out to dinner, and like I'll circle back to like the events and how things just kind of like transpired. So he said, oh, she's like really strict, like she has, like she's really advanced. And so I'm gonna give her a name, let's call her Pearl. So Pearl was like, I love that about her, I want that for myself. Like, she's so driven, she has this and she has that, and you know what, she's very encouraging. Like, she was bigging me up, and you know what, she was talking about a place where she wanted to get to, but he didn't like what that could possibly mean for him. Because sometimes your man gonna love you as long as you don't know your potential.
Ooh. Wow. If the shoe fits, put it on.
Put it on, babe. Put it on, babe. That was a bar. So yeah, sometimes your man is gonna love you, so as long as you do not know your potential, you don't know your worth, and you can't even try to negotiate because you don't even have the language. She's talking to her man about what she potentially wants for herself, to become more driven. She wants to begin to require more out of herself, find her voice, because she was very much passive based on her interactions that she had with her boss or her manager at the time. The way in which she presented herself and how she communicated, it made it very easy for sometimes people to take advantage, to speak over her, to overlook her, or to not acknowledge her feelings. And I can see how that would find its way into her relationship, because when you're dealing with someone who can basically, and I'm not saying that this is who he was, but I just need you to hear me. If you're dealing with someone who can talk you out of your way of thinking, who can make you do a complete 180, like that's not even what you thought, you have to be very careful, because that means, are you strong enough mentally? It was more so she wanted to grow, she wanted to evolve. And they say it's best to grow in love. And when you find that there's any bit of resistance, be careful. So he didn't like me. Let's just get that out of the way. That man did not like me. He didn't like what she had began to associate me with, and he didn't like how the plans that she had for herself and how she began to align herself with a certain, type of company. He felt threatened. Because again, this is a young lady who is so smart, so passionate, so loving, so giving, so generous, without a thought. And men benefit from you not having a backbone, not having a stance on things. They benefit from you when they can walk all over you. And financially, they're going to take full advantage if you allow them. When I learned that she had paid the rent for a second time because he came up short, or because, you know, he didn't have it, because I think there was something else he was trying to pay for, some sort of debt associated. I'm like, don't make that a habit, because you will make it easy for people to use you. People will stay in situations, and I'm not saying I said this to her, but just in general, because I'm dropping gems as I'm giving the tea. People will stay with you if it benefits them. Men are opportunists, and y'all might hate when I say that, but I really need you to hear me when I say that. Men are opportunists, and they will take full advantage, especially financially. Because when a man isn't strong financially, the ego, the issues that he has with himself, it'll be exacerbated. It'll be to the point where it could be hell when you get home. You get home and you fighting about nothing. You come home, the dishes not done, even though you spoke about it. Like, you had this conversation with this person, but they really don't care what you're saying. So you're blowing what? Hot air, babe. You know, them moving in together was such a big step when they hadn't been together for very long. So I was just concerned. I'm like, I need you to make sure that you got yourself together, because you're so busy making sure that the both of you are together that you yourself are not together. And that's my thing. And the way that I have been conditioned and the way that I've grown up, I have to make sure I'm okay. Because if I don't, like, sis, who finna help? Who finna help? This setup, this mirror is over here. But I say all of that to say, her man had a car and she didn't. And so she would have to Uber herself to work. So you paying rent and you spending money on transportation. I'm like, you're incurring too much loss. Like, I tell y'all, men have to incur the loss, not you. Because if you are ever on the losing end of things, it can only get worse. Men in general have this thing where, like, you'll do everything for them and then they'll turn around and say, I never asked you to. That's why I'm telling y'all need to stop. So then it was one time where she was like, oh, do you want to hang out? I'm like, girl, I'm on my way. So we're hanging out, and the place where we hung out after she got off work, the only reason why we were able to hang out there is because I knew the owner, or the person who managed the building. So I had came out to see her, and she was like, oh, you want to go get something to eat? So we get something to eat, and then we go chill at this particular place where I know the person who manages the building. And so, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, so we talking. Then she gets a phone call, and she's like, it's her boyfriend, and she's like, send me your location. Because, you know, they did that a lot. Like, I guess when he was on his way, he would send her his location. I'm like, first of all, somebody asked me to do that one time. I'm like, I don't do that. No face, no case, honey. And she realized he was a little bit closer than what she had thought. So basically, you know, the food and the drink that we had got, basically we had to wrap it up. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a session kind of vibe, you know, a kiki. So she was like, we're going to have to wrap it up. And I'm like, you made it seem like we was going to have time to chill. And so her boyfriend calls, and he's like, who are you with? And she said that she was with me. The energy was so different. She had him on speaker, and she took him off. Like, this is all things that, you know, in reality, she may have never realized that I peep. But honey, one thing about me, I am perceptive to a T, and I will get you together. I'm like, so, you know, I came out here for you. You know, we were supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and now it's quiet. It's no back talk. I'm like, so do you think you'd have an issue bringing me home? Girl, she said, let me call him. As soon as she said that, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. It was a situation where I came out here on, you know, your behalf, and you had this whole plan for us to chill, and then it all just suddenly changes. And I'm like, that's so weird. So I'm like, okay, plans canceled. We can get over it. But you're not even going to make sure that, so you're going to let your man be your ride, take care of you, and then you don't know what's the next thing for me. Ultimately, when she had mentioned that she had to ask him, and he said no, he could not ensure that I you know, had a ride back, though I had came out. Because again, we would drink. Okay, we would drink. Ain't nobody gonna drive, so we would drink. We would eat, and we would chill at this spot and just kiki. Now, I'm not going to like look too much into it, but I know for certain that her boyfriend was not fond of me. And to create sort of like a rift, because she knew I didn't like that. Like, one thing about me, if you're around me, you're gonna know if I don't like something. I'm not scared. So if I don't like something, you will most certainly know it. And so she knew I wasn't right after that. And so I just started pulling away. She would hit me up. I would talk. But I'd be like, Like, I even still tried to hang with her, but I'm just like, you're so far gone. Like, you're really into this relationship, and I don't know. And that's your prerogative. You can do what you want to do. But like, I still tried. Like, I'm not even gonna put it to you like I didn't. Even though I like started pulling away, like, we tried, but I just felt like you changed your whole plans for that night because I guess your man said he was going to do something and now he's not, and so he's on his way, and so it's like a big shift, and it's like, okay. And like, there had ended up being an incident. Like, let me just tell you something. There's always some mess happening with me, like, as far as like bystanders, and she knew all about that. And so it's like, this is a safety component here that you might have missed. So you hop in the car left. You didn't even wait to see, like, okay, you know, wait till, you know, whomever's supposed to pick her up, her ride. Like, I'm gonna wait. But she's a sweet person. I hope she reaches her goals. I hope that she gets where she wants to get. And I know for certain, like, I have a very strong, like, presence, aura, personality. Not like that is strong, like I'm aggressive. It's just, I have a strong sense of self. That's what I'm gonna say. I have a strong sense of self. I know who I am. You can't tell me who I am, especially if you don't do nothing over here. So, but understand that when you make excuses, when you allow people to be subpar, they're going to thrive in their subpar vibes, and it will inconvenience you. And think about how that can affect your goals. She wasn't big on like really going out to like super grand places. So like, that's why we would go out, we would go drink, we would go get some good food. Like, and it was a lot of conversation because I feel like, you know, she had a lot to share, myself included. Like, we served a purpose, and perhaps it was literally just for a season. If she would have come back into my life, would I entertain? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, prayer. You know what I'm saying? I have to pray on it, because you got to stop inviting people back into your life when they've already made their exit. Oh, please. So, how did I do with getting this makeup together? I don't even know how my makeup looks. It's kind of cute. I'm not even gonna hold you. It's very natural. What I need you to do is know that you are enough. Trust that when it's right, you don't have to fix it. You don't have to bend yourself. You don't have to break yourself down. You don't have to shrink yourself into someone so that you could take up less space. You are who you are. And if you want something out of this life, what I need for you to understand is, to get what you want out of life, you have to have a plan. You have to speak it. You have to have a way to execute. And you have to have the encouragement and the right people around you. And the truth is, sometimes we're dating people who aren't the right fit for our needs and our goals. It feels good. Okay. But what else? Talk to me about something else. You know, you got to realize, like, when you're tap dancing and wasting time in your relationship. But I'm going to try to finish the rest of my makeup. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If this resonated with you, definitely kiki with me in the comments. Okay, we have a lot to unpack and to discuss. Details on the look in the description box. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your post notifications on. Should I do this more? If I should, hit that thumbs up button. Share this with somebody who might be needing it. Because this panoramic, it hasn't been too kind to everybody. All right, y'all.